This is Over the Edge 2, starring Doctor Strange. And the worst thing about this is I have to try and explain what Over the Edge is, despite there being no actual explanation for it. This was a short-lived anthology series that was only 99 cents. Each issue had a single full-length story. There was no real logic to it. One month it would be Punisher, the next it would be Silver Surfman. There was also a crossover before this called Over the Edge, which this takes its name from. But this doesn't really have anything to do with that, other than some of the characters feature in this series, like Daredevil, Punisher, and Hulk. Marvel rebranded a bunch of their more mature books as part of an equally short-lived imprint called Marvel Edge. And I think the best way to describe this is as a sampler of the Marvel Edge characters. What is more important than any administrative bullshit or the low cost is that this is the last actual comic book written by Marky Mark G. This single issue of Over the Edge, starring Doctor Strange, was the last proper comic he wrote. I would like to point out there are several comics released after his death that were obviously ganning off of notes he left behind, so he at least co-plotted them, for which he receives zero credit. The diminution of his life's work began the minute he was in the ground. Or to be specific, the minute he was on the paper, because his ashes were used in the ink for a comic. But let's not get into that. A man has been stabbed in the back with a silver dagger, and rather than die, they have tracked down Doctor Strange for help. The in of who is behind this is in the choice of a silver dagger. The art is stuck somewhere between the 90s and showing some promise. The close-ups are interesting, but the rest of it is very 90s, filled with cross-action and slightly wonky anatomy. What might surprise people is that for a Marky Mark comic, this is quite restrained on the text. Maybe that is because it is a cheap title nobody cared about. Or maybe it is because he had started evolving and adapting to the times. His latter-day Captain America work, when Dave Edgar Hoover was drawn, I think that began the transformation. But we never got to see much of it because a congenital heart defect took his life only a few months after this came out. By the way, the bloke who got stabbed in the back was Slayerman from the Defenders, and I never even mentioned that. There's loads of that classic Marky Mark thing, with him bringing in a bunch of magic characters. Obviously, I love this issue. Let's just give up any pretense of an impartial look at it. I think I really like this mid-90s Doctor Strange design solely because of this issue. The plot here is that Doctor Strange's arch nemesis from the Bronze Age, Silver Dagger, he has pledged to slay 7 sorcerers unless Doctor Strange can stop him. Slayerman was his would-be first victim, but he gets better off panel. And now we have the second target, who is an bad guy of Doctor Strange, James Mandarin. I mainly recognise him from a Peter Gilbert story, but I think he existed before that. Great to see a totally forgotten about minor character like this again. And sadly, this is a 22-page story, so we just quickly get through some scenes like this, with Doctor Strange showing up and witnessing or preventing an attack. This is a plot that I can really get down with. I just sort of wish it was an annual, so we could see more of these vignettes and flesh out these other characters a lot more. Next is Jennifer Hale, a supporting character in Swamp Thing, who also showed up a few times in Marky Mark's Kazar. They went on a date, I believe. I quite like this character. She was great in the Marvel Zombies books she was in. Bonus recommendation time. Marvel Zombies 4. Go and read that. I have mentioned it 2 videos in a row now. I have reviewed a part of it, I think. It is not what you expect it to be. Other than a head of zombie dead pills, it is barely a Marvel Zombies series. Jennifer Hale is able to down her attacker all by herself. And so this guy is the next target. This is a character called Rama Khalif. And he is... I always get Rama Khalif and Omar Karindu mixed up. That statement means nothing to anyone but the most die-hard of Doctor Strange fans. Rama Khalif is a Silver Age associate of Doctor Strange, whereas Omar Karindu is a retconned Silver Age associate of Doctor Strange. They both serve very similar purposes, and one of them only ever shows up once every 2 decades. And this might help matters here because Doctor Strange is too late this time and Rama Khalif is slain. For the Marky Mark fans, this next one is of note. We have Zatanna from his Justice League. Decent short appearance from her. And then it is Talisman from Alpha Strike. He is fighting a generic snow beast thing. And then with Doctor Strange, thwarts the assassin who was waiting for the monster to wear him down. So after this, we get a look at Silver Dagger in all his ad age, bold and glory. And target number 7 will be shock horror, it is Doctor Strange himself. And our confrontation between the two is very underwhelming. Over very quickly, and I would say this would have been a hell of an annual. At standard issue length, it doesn't feel like all that much is happening or being accomplished, and there's no real payoff to much. Disappointing in a way. I like seeing these different corners of the mystic world of the Marvel Universe, but I would also love seeing them a lot more fleshed out. Each one should be a chapter in an annual. As it stands, I still get a kick out of this, but a lot of that is from seeing characters like Slayerman and Zatanna, and from what I think this could have been expanded into. I will give it 7 Silver Dagger victims up.